What's going on out there, guys? We are Todd Elton, 3 days away from Tennessee baseball home opener Friday versus Nicholls State. We learned a lot yesterday in regards to what the rotation is. We learned a little bit more about the lineup, kind of saw it this past weekend. I'll link some of my videos to end where I talk about it. But I think we got a little bit of a path going for this weekend as we go forward. Hit that like, that share, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for your support. First thing that come out of the press, not the first thing, but one of the first questions out of Josh Elander's press conference. And this was something different, I feel like, from years past. It feels like everything's all secretive and stuff getting up to it. But Josh Elander was asked on what the starting rotation will end up being. As I've said on here, since I did my pitchers preview, since I've talked about it from the fall, I've predicted this, or I've included Arvidsson initially until we start seeing he's been battling some injury issues, which I'll talk about in a minute. But it's been pretty obvious to me at that point, and it played out like I figured it would. Tegan Kuhn's Friday, Landon Mack Saturday, Evan Blanco Sunday. And, you know, as to why it played out like that, I think it's pretty easy on that. I mean, it's a really good rotation. It's a solid front-to-back rotation. You've got 2 first-round picks going Friday and Saturday in Kuhns and Mack. Evan Blanco's a guy that's been around, gets it done. I like him in that Sunday role, especially, you know, if it's a rubber match, if you're trying to get a sweep, you're trying to avoid a sweep. That's a good guy who's been, you know, he's pretty much pitched in everything that there is for the most part. He pitched in Omaha for Virginia. But why Kuhns Friday night? Because he earned it. And, you know, between he and Mack, it seems they were neck and neck maybe a lot of the time. But here's the thing about Kuhns and Josh Elander, they talked about it in the press conference. Last year did not end the way he wanted to. There's a lot of ways that could have went. You know, he could have hit the portal and went somewhere else. You know, he could have played woe was me. Nope. He went right to work. He was loyal. He said, I'm sticking around. He went to the Cape Cod League. He dominated in the Cape Cod League. He came back on a mission in the summer in the Knoxville. It showed in the fall. It's shown so far in the winter workouts. And the dude's been pitching really well, and he's got all the tools. He's in there for a reason. And Josh Elander, they asked him about it on why. Let me go down here to it. I'm looking at the notes from volquest.com that they were there. It's on multiple outlets that cover him. But he said they said on what Kuhns did to earn the Friday night. And Elander, and I quote, according to volquest.com, says, good question. Again, I think he's just made a jump. We'll talk about it from freshman to sophomore year. Like the theme when I was talking with Tegan and even his dad over the course of the summer, nobody was happy with how the season ended, right? Because he throws in Hoover, and that was kind of it, right? So I think that's kind of springboarding him into the summer. He goes to the Cape and dominates, for lack of a better term. And again, I think that's really driven him throughout the offseason. And says, and again, we just want him to. There's so many things that go up in Friday night guy. But I think the unique part of the staff we have with a lot of guys is the Friday night starter. So again, you know, knowing the league, done a great job, those things along the way. And he said, we got some stuff. I know he talked about Teague here, last 2 sentences. He said, I think gives him a little more windows where he can attack both righties and lefties. And then again, just when you come to just competitiveness, right? I think it's as good as it gets right there with Tegan. And again, that's no slight towards anybody else with it. This is a really good rotation with Kuhns, with Mack, with Blanco. And what I'm excited about, I don't know that we'll find out much. We'll see, you know, good performances the first couple of weekends, no doubt, with Nicholls State, with Kent State. I'm excited when they go down to Texas, when they play UCLA, when they play Arizona State, when they play Virginia Tech. That's going to be some good competition, and I'm really excited to see them then. And I think that's going to answer a lot of questions when you see Kuhns go down to Texas and shut down everybody's little darling UCLA. Mark it down, just like I did in the pitching video here as well. But we'll get to it as well. Weekend rotation, I like it. That's set in stone. Now some other things. Talk about Brendan Arvidsson. Elander said he's a little bit behind due to injury, but he said last week saw him throw a bullpen inside, and he said that's the best. He said he looked like a major leaguer. He said the best I've seen him throw since he's been here. Arvidsson can do so many things for you. He can be that long relief guy on the weekend. He can, if somebody's not getting the job done, he can move in that starting rotation as well. So there's so many things you can go with there. And I think the same applies to Cameron Appenzeller, maybe not in the same regard, but I'm curious, will Appenzeller be the midweek starter, or will he be kind of that long relief guy on the weekends? I could see that one going either way, just because of a part of me shifting towards thinking they might go Nick Abraham midweek starter. Because you've got a few lefties that can throw on the weekend. Don't get me wrong on that, but I don't know that you can have enough, to be honest with you, either, especially the quality of Arvidsson, the quality of Appenzeller. You're going to have Mark Handy in there as well. Dude comes over from Duke, grad transfer. So you're going to be in that regard. I mean, and you could always throw Blaine Brown in. I talked about Blaine Brown, how a part of me that wonders if the plan with him might be to be the opener on a midweek game, and then he'll be pitcher DH, and they go with that. Because Elander talked about wondering if they could bring him in from left field, possibly. But I would bet more when we see Blaine Brown pitch, it'll be as an opener on the midweek. And things could change on the weekend for sure. Lineup-wise, and I've talked about, I just grin about it, guys, because I see these outlets that cover it. And I'll just put my coverage up against anybody. I just will when I talk about it. I've said it from the get-go. If I made a lineup, Henry Ford, Blaine Brown, Levi Clark. That's my top three guys. If Blake Grimmer's healthy, I got Blake Grimmer hitting fourth, and then I adjust from there. They talked about Henry Ford and the leadoff. It looks like it's a real possibility. They did it some over the weekend with him. They did it with Jay Abernathy some too. You could obviously go with that one, but I like the approach now of getting your best hitter the at-bats. And based on all the consensus out there, your best hitter is going to be Henry Ford coming in. He's got the most preseason All-American awards, which obviously they mean nothing in the grand scheme of things. You've got to go out and do it. But with Henry Ford hitting the leadoff, that gives you so much in it. And I'm just a big proponent of, I like the lineups. For example, when Ronald Acuna is leading off, love it. Aaron Judge leading off, love it. Mookie Betts leading off. Those are, to me, I don't think it's the day and age you got to have a 50 stolen base guy leading off or anything. Is it nice to have that? Yes, I'm not against it. Don't get me wrong on that. But I was pretty adamant a couple years ago. I was even on the Billy Amick, but Christian Moore was perfect. Christian Moore was perfect when he went to that leadoff spot. That lineup took off, and it never looked back. And they toyed around with that leadoff spot for a bit until they went to Christian Moore. And once they did, it was like, this is it right here. And it was that lineup rolled. You got a top three of Ford, Brown, Clark. And then here's what I think the lineup's going to look like based on everything with it. Outfield. I could see this two ways on the outfield. I think for sure Chapman right, Abernathy center. Left field, I'm thinking that possibly Chris Newstrom left field and Blaine Brown DHing. That could change on it. Middle infield, I think until Blake Grimmer is back, that's what things will look like. And they said Blake Grimmer definitely out this weekend. I speculated on that when I talked about the scrimmages from the weekend. It just didn't seem to me like he was close. And and they said they're not rushing him. Josh Elander specifically said, I want 3 straight days of no issues with him before we kind of cut him loose on that. I think you're looking at infield Henry Ford third, Manny Marin short, Antigua second, Levi Clark first, Stone Lawless catching. That's what I'm thinking right now. Now, there could be a way where you see Blaine Brown on left, Chris Newstrom on second, and somebody else DH. Pretty fascinated with that. But to ask him, Josh Elander, specifically about Ariel Antigua, and he said, again, they've made it as hard as possible on me, to be honest with you. I've talked about it at this point of the year. Plant your flag, force me to put you in. And he said, and I quote, and again, Ariel has played honestly out of his mind. That tells me there, I'm expecting, and I could be wrong on this, I'm expecting Antigua at second, Marin at short, based on the way they played the lineups, Newstrom and left, Blaine Brown DH. And that's my pick that's how I think Friday night. Now I know Hudson Chance DH some. You got Nathan Eisfelder ripping the ball. You got Taylor Tracy ripping it. You got Hunter High in there. Of course, Garrett Wright is not going to be good to go, so I think that's Stone Lawless' job. Now, if they shift it around, Levi Clark catches, that gives you other options. You can move around. But that would be what I think will be the starting nine on Friday evening when they go to play. That, again, I'm looking for Chapman, Abernathy, Newstrom, Ford at third, Marin short, Antigua second, Clark first, Lawless catching, Blaine Brown DHing. That's what I expect to see, and I definitely could be wrong on that one as well. But this is going to be a stout lineup. It's going to be a stout pitching rotation. And, again, I don't know that we'll find out a lot in terms of the quality competition for the first couple of weeks. We'll find out something when we go down to Texas, though, and that'd be a lot of fun there. But just wanted to update on that. As far as the rest of the news and notes, I think that kind of hit the most of it. And, again, Elander did say he can go different ways with the leadoff spot. That said, he talked about Henry Ford, and they like the idea of it. So I would expect to see that. And frankly, to me, that's the way I go with it too. But if you're in Knoxville Friday, Lindsey Nelson, look for old Frank. Frank's going to be there in person. Man, I hope it works out where I can get back into the live show game at that point, but or at least test it out. At least test it out if it's worth it or not. That's kind of why I've gotten out of it some, because it's I've got to weigh the risk versus reward on it. So that's where we're at on it. So this is Frank. This is the House of Orange. Have a great Easter evening, and I'll see you when I see you.